Thanks everybody for joining us this evening. Really do appreciate everyone taking time for another virtual club volleyball information meeting. My name is John Blatcher. For those that don't know me, I'm quite familiar with many, but not all the club representatives. I'm the executive director for Volleyball Manitoba, and we have our other staff online and with us this evening as well. So we'll be going through a little bit of a presentation. It is kind of truly crazy to think that we're still talking about return to play protocols and how COVID is still affecting all aspects of our lives so significantly after more than 18 months since we first had to suspend sports. It was back in March 2020 when we unfortunately had to suspend that club season for the rest of it, although we didn't know what we were looking at. We didn't know if it was going to be 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, but here we are. We're 18 months down the road, and we're looking at a high school season coming up, a fall volleyball season coming up, and hopefully that won't be disrupted and or suspended in any way, and it'll see itself through, and really hoping that as we get through to December with clubs starting up with tryouts and training, that we get there and then we get through club season 2022 as well. Purpose of the meeting this evening is to once again provide some updates related to return to play, more specifically for fall's return to volleyball. We'll provide a little bit of info on what we currently have in mind for this next phase of return to play following September 7th. We have some information on this year's new club approval process and new registration system, and some points on the upcoming club season for 2020, including early signing information for next week, and some reminders on regulations for the fall school volleyball season, and a few other updates on the 2022 season. Also hoping to hear from a few of you. So please, maybe as we go through and at the end, would like to hear from a lot of you on what your current situation is, what your current challenges are as we look to 2022. And on that note, I think we'll begin. So just as we normally have, just a couple of housekeeping. So we do have a chat box. I'm going to ask Anthony to try and keep an eye on it, although he's out back home in Sioux Lookout right now. So he's hopefully has solid enough Wi-Fi out there to watch the questions as they might roll in. Please keep your mic on mute. I think everyone is on mute right now, so appreciate that. Just makes the sound a lot better. Again, if you have questions, please type it in chat, or if you want, just raise your hand and you can unmute and ask a question that way as well. We'll also have lots of opportunity at the end for questions as well. The agenda we wanted to go through this evening, as I kind of talked about, is just a little bit of an update on COVID health orders, which most of you, I imagine, are current and updated on. The RTP, return to play, current status, where we currently are, what we're looking at for the fall. As I said, we'll talk about club registration and approval process, athlete commitments, early signing that begins next week again for our second year of doing that, of implementing that, and a little bit of the reminders on fall club activity during the school volleyball season, some information that we have to date on 2022, for example, national championship dates and other information, and general discussion following that. Okay, got Anthony just message in there. So first of all, I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on current status. So as people are probably aware, Manitoba vaccination levels we're doing fairly well in the province, and the whole country for that matter is doing fairly well. Obviously, regionally in the province here, there's areas that have better uptake on the vaccines than others. But overall, as a province, we're doing pretty well at current time. Although the vaccination levels have plateaued, there's a little bit increments going right now with the upcoming vaccination requirements that will be in place starting this September 3rd. We do have current COVID case levels being fairly stable in Manitoba, but in Western Canada, we see, fairly significant fourth waves due to variants, in the 3 provinces west of us, and that is concerning and something we're keeping an eye on day to day. On 12:30 every day, we're watching the statistics come in and see how we're doing as a province. Our current return to play plan that we presented earlier in August is effective until September 7th. So we have been currently working on a new one for the fall that would include fall sports, fall volleyball, not only high school, but to some extent other leagues, MCAC, possibly youth sports will be looking at our protocols. We're working a lot with the Referee Association on rule modifications, areas where we can help mitigate the risk of transmission, the risk of reduce the risk of exposure amongst our participants. Our current return to play, as we've had throughout August, is limits the participants on a court to 15 players. Plus, we have been fairly cautious in our approach throughout August, especially considering multiple camps that have been going on and the potential for athletes to be attending many of those. We have been cautious and have been requiring our participants to wear masks. And for those clubs that have delivered camps throughout August and have been following the protocols, we truly appreciate that. The provincial health orders do now allow for competition. So as I indicated, we are updating that for the fall for school volleyball to allow for competitions, to allow for tournaments. One of the things that's currently in place is masks are required in public buildings, but they can be removed for physical activity. That is one health order that we are looking at and trying to determine what we're going to be doing moving forward. Are we going to continue requiring masks, or are we going to just fall back on the health order and just require it for in and out and taking it off when athletes are on the court? Another thing that is coming is that adults will be required to participate in their own sports and their own recreational activities in indoor venues. But adults will also be required. When we say adults, what we understand is that 18 and older. 18 and older will be required to be vaccinated if you're participating in sports in indoor venues. So that's coaches, that's referees, that's potentially 18 and older athletes. For example, 18-year-olds that might be playing high school this fall might need to be required to be vaccinated in order to participate. The 13 to 17 won't be required, although it's strongly encouraged that those individuals do get vaccinated if they're participating in youth sports. This information on the vaccinations, we do expect, it is coming into play from what we understand on September 3rd. And we do expect the actual health orders on the vaccinations and potentially other updates to be published and posted on the Province of Manitoba website as hopefully tomorrow, but as late as Friday. At that time, we'll be sort of finalizing our return to play guidelines and posting it on our website accordingly, like we've been doing all along. We are also looking for schools and principals and divisional organizers of volleyball, phys ed teachers. We are in talks with the MHSAA on the possibility for any of the teachers that are on the call this evening for the possibility of looking at an online meeting to present the return to play protocols to help address any questions that people might have as they start looking at organizing volleyball games and possibly tournaments as we proceed throughout the season. One of the things that I will stress and do, we have been fairly cautious in our approach all along. We've been doing that, especially lately, maybe more so than what other sports have been doing and implementing in terms of numbers of participants on the court or the mask requirement. we were doing that with primarily with the rationale of doing our small part to try and avoid another interruption or suspension, for that matter, of the volleyball season, be it the school volleyball season or later on with club volleyball. We desperately don't want that to happen again, and I'm sure you feel the same way, and that would be absolutely devastating. And we're trying to do our part to try and ensure that happens. I don't see any questions as we go through current return to play. By all means, if people have questions, please type in, or again, we'll have questions at the end. I'm going to try and bring Anthony on, and depending on his Wi-Fi access, just to talk about something that we're doing, I'll say slightly differently than we have been in the past, with a new registration system that's being implemented this year. We are going away from the VRS, the volleyball registration system that we've used in the past, to a new system that's hopefully more user-friendly for all of our members, and that's Sport Lomo. So Anthony, I'm just going to see if you can unmute and present this area here. I'm going to try and hotspot his phone. I will start here that what we're doing with club approval is slightly different, but very much the same as what we've historically done. This is also in part in partnership with Volleyball Canada. So what we've previously done with the club information forms by requiring various information, this is now going to go online and through the actual registration system. And it's going to be the first part of what clubs will be required to do to be approved, and so that they do gain official status and can be posted on our website, and further to that, proceed through the benefits of being a club, such as early signing that we're going to be implementing as early as next week. How you doing there, Anthony?
I think I'm back.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I assume you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I believe you're good.
Okay.
You want me to change the slide, or do you want to continue on this one?
Are you wanting me to jump in right now?
Yeah, you can jump in right now if you're ready to go.
Okay, sounds good. So as John mentioned there, we'll be moving the club approval form, which was previously like the club information form. It'll be moved on to the online registration system, the new one coming up here through Sport Lomo. It will require a lot of the same information as we just have displayed here. You'll need to put down your club name, whoever the president or director or owner in whatever the situation is, and the contact info website. Names of directors will be included. And I'm not going to go through everything here, but we'll have it listed there. Clubs do need to be approved before they're listed on our website or before they can early sign athletes. So in the event that we don't have this up and running for Friday, other provinces have started to use it. And really, I just wanted to give it a few more days on our end in case those other provinces run into any significant issues. As I'm sure some of you are aware, when you open a new system up like this, there can be some early hiccups. So I figured I would let other provinces go through that before we go up and running. So in the event that we can't do this for Friday, we will just be taking the early signing period offline. We'll be putting the paper forms up on Tuesday morning there. And from there, clubs can make their offers, and once they have their early signed players, I will have just an Excel sheet essentially that you guys can download from our website and send back to me with your players and everything else. We won't be taking payment immediately. We'll do that once we get the online registration up and running. So obviously, we won't be doing the club approval before we necessarily take those early registered athletes, but before we post them and before they are officially considered signed, we will need you to go through the online system and complete the club approval. So I think John can move to the next slide here. Oh, there we are. So the first step to getting your club into the system will be for the president or director to create their own account in the system. There's a quick tutorial here. I'm not going to have John run the video right now, but we'll have this posted and we'll have the links there where you guys can take a quick look later. So once the club president or director has their account set up, then they can go through the club approval form. And again, there's another quick tutorial there for you guys to take a look. It's all very straightforward. It's essentially you fill in the info, click next, do that a few times, and you're rolling. Then we'll get an email saying, okay, this club is applied. We can go through and make sure everything's good, and then click approve, and you'll be good to go. Once the club is approved by us, then that club director will need to go in and create their head coaches. There will be a tutorial for this as well. The registration system, the Sport Lomo just hasn't created them yet. So once we have that up and running, we'll send that out to you as well. Those head coaches will get an email that'll prompt them to complete their registration, fill in any additional info we need, as well as accept the waivers and complete the required checks and everything else. Then those head coaches will be able to go in, they'll have their account created, and they can create their teams much like how they've been doing it in the past, where they go in, they put in their other coaches, they put in their players, and they can pay their memberships all in one bulk purchase. And then following that, once we have our events up and running in the system, you'll be able to create that or use that team. I want to get into this premier event and this provincials, and you can pay for everything in one registration rather than having to go and enter your team into Premier 1, Premier 2, and then provincials. You can do it all at once. So that'll be a little bit easier for everybody, which will be nice. Outside of that, there's really not too much I have to say on the system. It should be easier than in the past, and that's what we're going for. So as we do get everything up and running, I'll be available as clubs have questions, and hopefully it'll be a pretty smooth transition into the new system.
So in the next day or two, we will have information on our website about the club approval process. I went through these links. We'll include these links as even as early as tomorrow, just so people have an idea on what will be involved. The club president registration tutorial is, I think it was 7 minutes. The club approval one was 6 minutes. So they're really simple processes. They don't take a lot of time. The tutorials are that long, which means that it might take you a little bit longer than that to go through those two specific ones anyways. We're good on that one, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm good on this slide. I'm not sure if the next one is also me or if it's back to you, but
I can continue here if you're if that's okay.
Sure. We just had a question from Jared in the chat about just delaying early signing until the system is ready. We did think about doing this. However, we want to do our best to make sure that the early signing is out of the way as early as possible, just so those kids that are getting back into school volleyball now, especially after having a lot of them would have had like no season at all last year for school, just letting them get back into that and focus on that. That was kind of our priority there. So that is why we are planning on going ahead with our usual timeline.
And if it's not fully ready for next week's use for early signing, we're going to make the process as simple as possible so that there's not a significant amount of duplication that's required for clubs to go through that. We will have the form similar as last year, and that's the main requirement. By later next week, when athletes are allowed the opportunity, they'll be able to sign. But we have a bit of time before that happens. So we'll keep everybody updated as best we can. Actually, maybe Anthony, I'll let you go through this early signing, and then I'll go through the other ones.
Sure. So for the early signing for this upcoming season, The earliest an athlete can formally commit with a club is during this early signing window. It is specific to 16U and older athletes. One of the things we don't have it written here, but we will be considering, depending on how the school season looks and how things look coming into kind of the tryout window. If it doesn't look like we'll be able to hold, relatively large tryouts, or just kind of depending on how things look, we might open up early signing to the younger groups as well. But we're just taking a wait and see on that for now. So as we mentioned there, the early signing window starts this upcoming Tuesday on September 7th, and will be open for 7 days. So as we mentioned a little bit earlier, clubs will need to be approved before they can take advantage of this. Again, because we might be working a little bit backwards here. If we have to do it offline, we will be accepting them, and then we just won't be posting them until everyone's approved. So it'll be it's a little bit backwards, but it'll work out. The other thing we wanted to mention was just that athletes do have a few days, technically until September 10th, before clubs should expect commitments from them. However, if an athlete is ready to commit, on the 7th, then they're free to do that. Clubs just shouldn't be pressuring them before the 10th to be making their decisions. And pretty much all our other usual fall club regulations remain. And I think that's pretty much it for this slide. John's going to jump back in. You got to unmute yourself, John.
So I can just review some of those other
Thank you.
fall scouting and recruiting regulations that we always have, that we normally have, and I just wanted to remind and it's more of a reminder and encouragement for all of our clubs to make sure that you're fully aware of the scouting and recruiting regulations, especially over the school season. Last year was different, was a little bit different with very limited school activity, but it does look positive right now, at least at current time, and we hope that continues, that we will see a somewhat normal school volleyball, knock on wood, school volleyball season over the upcoming weeks. So again, as a reminder, if clubs are running camps in the fall, please understand that the camps must remain neither mandatory nor exclusive. So you can't just invite athletes, you can't just have your team out, and you can't expect athletes to attend in order to make your club team later in the year if they haven't already been pre-signed. So please, those are important aspects. The school volleyball season should be an athlete's priority during the school season, so clubs should avoid any conflicts with school programs as best possible. So they should encourage athletes to prioritize and even emphasize that with them. The athletes at times, we understand, feel pressure to attend camps over the fall over their school programs, and that's not right. Their school seasons take priority during this time of year. Camps are used for supplemental training where appropriate. If athletes are training, 3, 4, 5, playing 5 times a week, should they be really required to go to a camp 1 or 2 times a week? Maybe in some cases it's best for them, but please consider that as you plan your fall programs. We also ask you to please follow the recruiting regulations. So of significance, any recruiting must be done with an athlete's parent present. Please don't reach out or talk to athletes directly. And be aware of recruiting blackout periods. So as of November 1st, we do have a blackout period for most ages that runs through until the athlete has completed their school season. And also understand that recruiting is also not allowed while an athlete is participating in a school event or activity. Coaches can go watch a game or a tournament, but please don't try and contact the athlete during that event. A little bit about the upcoming season for club now. So we are planning a season. We are planning a season as normally. We are booking gyms right now. We do have a lot of weekends that we've preliminarily established for certain events like premieres. We are looking at our provincial dates, which usually align with national championship dates. So we will be working on that in the coming weeks. We do hope that we'll be able to deliver a season, somewhat normally. We do understand, though, that we might need to be flexible. We might need to look at smaller tournaments. We might need to look at tournaments that are waived, as opposed to having everybody on site at any given time. Various options like that, competition formats like that. But that's something that, again, like we were doing last year, we'll continue to do, as we look towards February through April and May, when we run most tournaments and ultimately our provincials in mid-April to early May. We do have a set, according to the MHSAA calendar right now, their provincials are scheduled for that first week of December. So our tryouts are officially scheduled to start on December 11th and 12th. 11th is the Saturday for 16U and younger, and the 12th is the Sunday for 17 and 18. We are planning the grad all-star event on the 11th, so we want to try and avoid any tryouts for 17, 18 on that first day of that weekend. Volleyball Canada, for those that are following along with their information, has posted various information about the national championship so far. So we have weekends established as listed there. Primarily, the big note is that Edmonton will be hosting the festival type event this year from May 18 to 24, with the first 3 days, the first wave being the 15 and 17, and the second 3 days being 16 and 18U. The 14U events are the weekend previous, so May 12 to 15 for those that want to participate out west. The dates are listed there for Richmond and Burnaby for boys, Richmond for girls, and there is other events that our teams are eligible to attend as well. May 5 to 8 in Ottawa and May 12 to 15 in Halifax. We are looking at 2 official new volleyballs this year as well. These balls were actually intended to be in place last year, and will be implemented now this year. Earlier information that we received was that 13U to 15U was going to be using the VQ200W, the red and white one that you see in the image there. That's now changed from Volleyball Canada to 13 to 16. Our competition committee just needs to verify whether we'll continue matching that or mirroring that at a provincial level. And then 17 and 18 will be using the V200W. So that's sort of the new MVA 200, and the 2 older age categories will use that ball. I am going to go back just, I know there might be a question there, but one of the things I do want to stress is for those teams that are looking at traveling to nationals, and we did talk about vaccination status of coaches for being required for participation, at least to start this fall, according to the health orders. And quite frankly, it might be required for all at this point if it comes to that. Anyone traveling, anyone attending a national championship out of province or anything out of province is likely going to need to be vaccinated, or they're going to have to quarantine or isolate for 2 weeks, which wouldn't make sense if participating in an out of province event. You'd probably have to isolate if you go there and isolate if you get back, if that's the situation at that time. So it's best if all of your participants, if you are traveling, simply get vaccinated. That's Anthony's note there. We encourage clubs to put together alumni teams to send to senior nationals. There you go. So Volleyball Canada is trying to organize once again. It hasn't been done for a number of years, but a senior national championship. First time in many years that they'll be trying to do that. So May 12 to 15 in advance of the festival open. Adam, are you on board there? Do you want to talk a little bit about coaching requirements and anything on referee certification clinics? If he can't log in, I will just continue then. So again, this fall, if you know your coaches, if they're not registered in the system and have all their status available, if you know who your coaches are going to be, and need to know what their areas of compliance might still be in need of, please reach out to Adam and he'll be able to pull the records up really quickly, whether it's the respect in sport, whether it's the screening, the criminal record or child abuse, any of those requirements, certification, training, Adam can pull that up. So I'd encourage everybody to get a jump on that. We do hope, and we would like to see as many coaches as possible compliant before seasons start, or as early in the season as possible. Referee certification and clinics are being planned. Nothing is actually scheduled yet, but the MVOA is looking at doing that. Later this month, they have their annual organizational meeting on September 15th. I believe that's going to be virtual, so they will be doing that online. And then they will be doing their certification and recertification clinics later in September, online as well. So if anyone is interested, or usually referees, that is some information that we will be posting on our website, and MVOA will be sending out directly to all past referees as well I'll say in the next week or so. Yeah, well, if Anthony or Adam are there, if you can type in Adam's email address into the chat box there. We can also include that in the notes in the what we post for the meeting here tomorrow on our website. Our annual general meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday evening, September 8th. It will be a virtual meeting. We will be, for those that have RSVP'd, we will be sending out the information, the Zoom information, by early next week, probably by Tuesday. If anyone is still interested in attending our annual general meeting, it's not generally a lot of information on club or specifics like that are presented. It's more the general business of Volleyball Manitoba, election of board members, presentation of reports, annual financial statements, bylaw amendments, which we do have in place for next year. Please RSVP to me by this Friday if possible, or even by Tuesday if you're a little late and you haven't confirmed. All the information on our annual general meeting is on our website. Just if you log in to our site, it's one of the news articles front and center. Need to look at some.
Eku is wondering about coach certification sessions. I assume you're just asking about clinics there, Eku. I don't think we have anything formalized yet. I know Scott's working on the dates for those, and we should have them up pretty soon, I would imagine.
Yeah, so the participant ones, we are looking at doing those the normal time of year that we generally do them, end of January, early February, when there's minimal tournaments, or there shouldn't be any near the end of January, third and fourth weeks, and early February sometimes as well. So those are the certification sessions. Adam's email is in there as well, and I think this is kind of a little bit of an opportunity now. It was not a ton on the agenda, but important information as it relates to what's coming up with club approval and registration next week and early signing. And please continue to monitor our website, our social media channels for details on all of that information that will be forthcoming. So now is kind of an opportunity for any open questions on anything that we've presented. Or I'd like to hear from a few clubs, maybe some of the rural ones, just to see. I know we received a message from Brandon, one of the clubs in Brandon, still being challenged by gym access for at least the start of December for tryouts. It might be a challenge for them to get into gyms, if they can even get into gyms later in the in the new year or into the new year. So we'll open it up. We'll open up the floor. Otherwise, I'm gonna pick on a few people that I might see online here. But we'll start with maybe with Prov. We'll go through a few of the rural ones. Kyle, if you're there, maybe how's things looking for your club for starting up and for running at what kind of capacity?
Well, we're planning on a full return, but I just got a note today from Hanover School Division that they've put a pause on rentals as well. So we are in limbo for gym time. Normally our tryouts in December have been pretty exclusively at Prov. So in December, we could be okay. Plus we have some Niverville time secured as well in the new facility. So
Good.
Between those 5 courts, I think we'll be able to at least do our tryouts. And then by then we should have an idea what Hanover School Division is doing for January through May. So we'll be pretty reliant on that. And if we can't secure gym time through Hanover, then we might have to go reduce capacity like we did last year.
How's the availability at the Niverville facility looking?
It is booking up, but there are definitely times that we can get in there. It'll just be dependent on how much we want to spend. So it's nice that we can book three courts at once and have that sufficient space. So I don't think it'll be an issue getting some court time in there. So we'll just see what that all looks like cost wise, and as we get closer to when we are needing availability, depending on our Hanover situation.
Good. Thanks for the update there. I see Dauphin posted there. They've been given the idea that they should be able to access gyms, but nothing official yet. So good luck with that, Ted. Keep us posted for sure. How about maybe BVC and Cats or any other Brandon clubs? I'm not sure if ACC is on board. How's it looking for you guys?
Brandon School Division has released that they will not rent any gym time first term. We don't know what January will look like when practices would need to start. Tryouts would potentially be at the HLC for us and for BBC, I assume. Russ is on here, I think. But as far as practice time, last year we were able to use the HLC because CIS wasn't going, but with them going now, I have no idea what we would do.
So primarily at HLC.
Yeah, when their rec programs and CIS aren't practicing, which is
Right.
pretty limited. It wouldn't be to the capacity we normally would. No.
Right. Yeah. Trying to see some other messages there, Anthony. Do you?
There's 2 came in here. We'll start with Jared. I don't think we had really discussed eliminating the early signing. Obviously, we understand that no one has really played a game in a year and a half here. I think, well, honestly, we didn't discuss it at all. I don't know if it's maybe something we should have or not, but I think considering clubs should, when clubs are making their decisions on this, they should just be cognizant of these things, right? And really, especially the older age categories, clubs should still have a pretty good idea of kind of who the athletes are. And I would think you maybe at that point really only want to sign kids who you're pretty comfortable with, and then for the rest of the kids, if it's a kid you're not sure about, I think the ideal thing to do would be to have them come to a tryout as opposed to just signing them outright. But maybe that's one of those situations where it's one of those things you would expect clubs to act that way, and maybe they wouldn't. So I don't know how. Unfortunately, I don't have a great answer for that one. I think that's it's just something we didn't really consider because we figured, I guess, clubs would act appropriately. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, John.
Yeah, no, not really. I think, at current time, we were planning on it, and we're going to be proceeding that. I think it's still important, and we still have the rationale on why it's being done. So, we still do want to try and avoid a lot of scouting and recruiting during the high school seasons. And I think, as Anthony said, for those that you're, feel comfortable with, you make offers to, and hopefully they'll agree to them. And those athletes are off the board. They don't need to be recruited or scouted, as others might. Focus on the ones that you aren't familiar with.
And from Sheldon as well, our coach is going to be required to submit proof of double vaccination.
Yeah, I think, Sheldon, that's something that needs to be, determined, is who's going to be responsible for that information. So will we, as Volleyball Manitoba, be requiring it to be uploaded on the registration system or whatever that might be? I think, we have a little bit of time to work that out, because we won't have club volleyball starting until at least December in registration. So we won't require that, but for those that are participating or coaching a school activity, they should be. And for that matter, if you're doing any club activity this fall, that that we won't we won't go through the process of looking at that or requiring it at this point in time. But the club should make sure they're following the health orders, or they're at risk of fines. But we'll continue to keep people updated on these. This is really new information coming out these last couple of weeks, so a lot has to be worked out.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And Jared, if you do have more on that, feel free to send me an email here, and I can take a closer look, and we can discuss it among the staff and just have a little bit more discussion on it.
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. It just, my concern is, if you ask people who've never played club volleyball before, they think it's pretty tough to make a team, and they think that everybody just rolls over the same rosters year after year, and that, it's kind of it's a click, right? It's sort of, if you've already played there, you're going to make the team again the next year. And I don't know anyone who can sit here and say that they have any idea who's going to be the best players on their team to be signing them. And I personally just don't really see the point in the early signing right now in this landscape that we're in, because if you're doing it to avoid recruiting, all you've done is just push the recruiting into August. You have coaches who are going to beach league games and recruiting kids at beach league games because they want to sign their kid by September 7th. Like if it's to eliminate recruiting, you've just changed recruiting season. It's no less pressure for anybody involved. And all that happens is everybody feels the need to sign players because they don't want to be left out. So they sign everyone. And then the kid who's never played before, or in the last 2 years from the time they were in grade 9 to grade 11 or whatever it is, there's a lot of major changes that go on there, from height to, like, we're not even talking just playing volleyball, just as physiologically as kids. So much has changed in the last 2 years, and we're signing players based on what we saw when they were 16. And if you don't do it, you're left out in the cold. If you do it, you probably are ending up with kids you might not really want on your team by the time you get them back into the gym. And all it does is leaves out all the kids who we've never seen before. Like, we say we have a good handle on it. How do we have a good handle on it? We haven't seen school volleyball. We haven't seen club volleyball. We haven't seen any volleyball. So all we're doing is just signing the kids that we thought we were good on our own teams, which is not allowing for any kid who hadn't played the last time we had club teams to play club volleyball. And it's becoming even more exclusive than it was before when we had tryouts. And it's becoming extremely difficult for anybody to make a club team. And you can say that clubs should do the right thing and not sign players. But we know on September 7th, every single team is going to sign someone because they don't want to be left out. So if you don't sign your player, those players and parents are going to freak out, and they're going to get nervous, and they're going to go sign with someone who is willing to sign them. And then you're left out. So I think that, I mean, it's probably too late, but if the intent is to eliminate recruiting, you haven't eliminated recruiting. You've just changed recruiting season. And especially this year, we haven't seen anybody play. I just don't really see how anybody can feel confident in signing players come next week. So that's my mini rant. Based on the chat, a lot of people feel the same way. It's disappointing that it wasn't even discussed, but I mean, I don't know if anything could be changed, but if it's being done to eliminate recruiting, I don't think that's accomplishing the goal. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
my
I
thought.
would note that it wasn't so much to eliminate recruiting entirely. It was to eliminate recruiting during the school season for those specific athletes, or I guess lessen the recruiting so that like those athletes that were already selected, then obviously they are not the athletes who have the pressure on them, and I guess there's just fewer athletes who are left in that pool that are then being recruited. And I appreciate a lot of this feedback because honestly, some of it is just stuff that I hadn't really considered, right? Like I didn't come up through the club system, and I haven't done a lot of coaching there, so I didn't think about some of this. So I do appreciate all the feedback, and I think it is something we can consider. So I would suggest that John, we should probably
we'll
have a little
we'll
more
take
discussion about this tomorrow.
This will be
Yeah.
definitely a takeaway for sure. We'll look at it. We'll discuss quickly, but it's fairly late feedback. But and like Anthony said, not that we hadn't considered not doing it. If I don't know, Jared, if your thought was that it's a this year thing, or because of COVID, or it's an ongoing thing, but we'll discuss with the indoor competitions committee and try and make a if anything is going to change, we would let people know quite quickly. Okay. Anything else from anybody that they might want to share in terms of sort of their club challenges, just what their status is? I'm trying to reach out to some of the clubs, especially in the rural areas where gym time is a little bit more difficult, although it's still difficult in Winnipeg as well. There is more facility options available, although access is obviously really strained in a lot of the Dakotas and Sport Manitobas and other gyms that are available. We don't know right now, and I don't know if anyone else knows who might even work or have heard about the school divisions on whether any schools are opening up or allowing bookings. But my understanding is I don't think at current time, but maybe someone else knows differently. Anyone else willing to share anything, or we're going to maybe adjourn? Is there a couple more other comments here?
Yeah, there's a note from Tim. Some of it was just echoing some of Jared's points there, but
Okay.
yeah, he just kind
Point
of.
taken. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. Well, if there isn't anything else, we'll please definitely follow follow our website. Make sure you're watching for further information that's posted. That includes anything on early signing. That includes the club approval and registration process. And by all means, as we always say, if there's questions, please fire us an email and or phone call, and we'll, although we're not at our desks that often, but we will be slowly starting to transition back from, more home office to back to the office as well over the fall. But please reach out. We're going to try and help everybody as best we can, although we know that's quite limited at times, but that's our role. And hopefully, last year we were at 50% of teams registered for a club season. That really didn't happen. Teams trained for about 8-9 weeks with groups of 10, and we were still able to see about 50% of what we normally see for registered teams. So, I'm really I don't fully expect we're going to be at 100% this year, but, ideally we move forward and we start trying to get to those capacities again, those numbers again, where we're at 200 registered teams over a club season. So thanks for your efforts, everybody, and good luck, in the next little while, and enjoy the rest of